All right, it's Monday. Let's go. Ho! I'm excited. Finishing up January. Got some work starting to come in. We were supposed to have like a ice, I guess winter, I don't know, something was going on. The roads are supposed to be bad. So far it hasn't happened. Of course, this is Indiana, so who knows. But work started to come in, which is good. The season may start a little sooner. If we keep sticking around 45 degrees, I can power wash. I can do a lot of different stuff, actually, so especially if it's dry. So hopefully that's the case, and I can get my season started a little earlier instead of having to wait till March. But I wanted to actually put a video out here today, talking about just thinking about things, your business, your work, whatever, in the manner of you choosing to exert as much control over your situation as you possibly can. Now, I've talked about this before, I've said this, but this really does bear repeating because so many times in life, and I think I've said this before on a video, if we aren't exerting influence or control over our situation or abstaining from situations, right, we're basically, well, something will. If we don't, over our diet, over our businesses, over our work, over our marriages, over our kids, over our friends, over our church, over whatever. I mean, the stock that you invest in, your 401k, if you're not exerting control to the greatest degree that you can, something will. Something's going to exert control over not necessarily you specifically, but the areas of the life of your life that affect you, that do influence your behavior. So the chain of events, you could say that they will exert control over you, but really what ends up happening is that the areas that we leave open for just basically interpretation, because we are either too lazy or we are unwittingly leaving ourselves open to that, something will take control. Something will influence and or implement control over that aspect of your life. And how this plays into, money, entrepreneurship, business, is that really as a business owner, what you want to do, or someone who's just starting or who's in their business for a while, they want to go to the next level, you just want to look at everything that you're doing, how you're doing it, the gear you have, the people you use, and from that very sound place where like, okay, I know what's going on, you want to make a very basic, simple plan to exert control over that even to a greater degree. Now, there's a difference between exerting control and exerting influence and then being controlling. There's a difference, for any business, any church, any family, any relationship to grow. You do have to give that organism, that thing, the freedom to go, which is a different video. I heard one guy say to grow, you have to let go. And there is truth in that. There is wisdom. If you're controlling, if you're super tense and, nothing can get outside of what you're doing and what you're thinking and what you're saying, then you become the ceiling. You become that ceiling. So there is truth to that. That's another video. But we really want to look at the areas of our life that we can exert control in the greatest manner possible. And it can be as simple, like for my wife and I, one thing that really helps us throughout the week, believe it or not, cuts down a lot of stress, saves money, it's fun to do, is meal prep for the entire week on a Sunday. Yesterday, we stayed in. The weather was supposed to be bad. It didn't really happen, but the weather was supposed to be bad, so we stayed in. We just cooked all day, and it was a great time. The wife made a bunch of food. We have all these dishes available to us in our fridge that we can just grab and go. And it's actually a lot of fun. She made blueberry muffins. We have basically, we have a few people in our house, and so if you talk about 7 days, 3 meals a day, that's 21 meals times the amount of people that are in the house. So you really, if you think about it for the week, you really got to have at least 60 to 70 meals prepped. It sounds like a lot, but really it makes throughout the week a lot easier because there's leftovers. They're already in to-go containers that you can heat up and take on the road, yada, yada, yada. And it removes an equation from the board that you normally have that you no longer have to think about. And also too, what's great about that is when you meal prep like that and you no longer have to think about what you're going to eat when you get home from work after you've worked all day and you're tired. Maybe you went to the gym in the morning, had a great workout, then went to work, had a great day of work, but you come home and you're spent. And instead of going the extra mile to make a meal from scratch or to, make a pre-made meal, maybe you order a pizza, spend $35. So when we don't set ourselves up and we don't exert control over something as simple as food, we actually set ourselves up just to spend more money, which isn't a big deal. I mean, if you can afford it, as long as you're taking care of all of the necessary things you need to take care of, paying off your debt, investing for retirement, yada, 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 go spend your money, go enjoy it. But if you constantly find yourself in that situation just concerning food, and I know this is kind of a small thing, as far as meal prepping, but if you find yourself in that mode where you're always tired at the end of the day and you don't want to make food, so you end up buying a pizza or you end up going out to eat, you're not only probably eating in an unhealthy way, but you're just spending your cash that could probably do something else for you. So again, exerting control in the areas where we can, pre-make those meals, especially if you're like my wife and I, and both of you work. It's hard sometimes to come home and make food. It's hard sometimes to come home and get the chores done around the house that need to be done. It's just the way it is. You get beat, you get tired. So take control where you can. Make food for the week. Take control where you can. I've talked about it in another video. Pay all of your expenses with a credit card so you're not having to pay expenses out of your checking account that you may or may not have the cash for. Take that stress and that load off and experience that freedom, and you'd be surprised how much further that goes for you. And these are all, examples outside of obviously being an entrepreneur or being the best employee you can, but it translates. It translates to these areas of life where if you can take control in the little things and start exerting your influence and your control over the little things to give yourself less equations, less problems, or less tasks that you have to deal with throughout the week, you'll be able to then focus on the larger tasks, the bigger issues that are possibly more cumbersome and that are possibly more energy draining to handle. So that's really, I think I've talked about this before, but it does bear repeating. Like, really for you, especially in 2021, there were a lot of things that happened in 2020 where people felt hopeless. Whatever your political ideology is, however you felt about what happened with COVID and whether or not our nation handled it correctly or not, a lot of people felt like they just didn't have a say in what was going on, and they just felt trapped. In 2021, whether it's different or not, we have to make the choice to exert control and influence in the areas where we can to the greatest degree possible. Because if we don't, chances are something else is. If we don't, chances are something or someone else is going to step in and exert control and influence over our life, and they probably won't have our best interests at heart. If you're lucky, if you're a kid, if you, like me, when I was young, I was lucky. I had some great coaches in my life and teachers that really helped me, and I was still a dumb shit. I was still wild, really, in a lot of ways. So if you're lucky, you have good people in your life that can keep you on track to the degree that you can be kept on track, and nothing terrible happening to you. But not all of us are lucky like that. Some of us don't have a great coach. Some of us don't have a great teacher. So or if you're an entrepreneur, some of us don't have great mentors. Some of us have people that are out of their minds that are barely making it. So exert control and influence where you can, because in doing so, especially over the little things, in doing so, you remove these small, it's almost like pawns in chess. I mean, imagine if in one move you could immediately eliminate all of the pawns of the enemy side of the chessboard in just one move. And I know that's a little bit kind of a weird example, but I mean, it's literally that simple. If you can get rid of all of these small problems and or compartmentalize those small problems in a way where once you get in a system, the solution is easy and it's repeatable and sustainable, and they no longer really affect you, man, you can really start making great gains. Financially, one concept about that in that regard is debt snowball. Dave Ramsey says to pay your small debts off first, then take that dollar amount and put it towards the next biggest debt. Then once that debt's paid off, take both those dollar amounts and put it towards the next biggest debt. So knocking down those small problems, exerting control over those small equations, those small situations it's really potent. It's really powerful. Wanted to get this video out today to you guys. If you like the content, like, share, subscribe. If you've hated it, send it to someone you hate.